There's a point in wealth building where money stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling automatic. It doesn't mean you're set for life or that you'll never think about money again. But it does mean the constant stress and chasing finally ease up. At this point, your money is working harder than you are. And the interesting thing is, it's not as high of a number as most people think. For most people, building wealth feels like pushing a heavy rock uphill. Every dollar saved feels slow. Investments don't seem to move the needle. You're working hard, but progress feels invisible. That's why so many people give up too soon. But once you cross a certain level of net worth, the rock doesn't just stop rolling back. It starts rolling forward on its own. That's when wealth feels automatic. The question is, where is that point? What's the net worth level where your money shifts from survival to growth? Let's break it down. When your net worth is under $50,000, most of your financial energy goes toward covering expenses and paying off debt. Every bill feels heavy. Saving is possible, but it often means sacrifice. Your money isn't compounding yet, and any small emergency can wipe out your progress. At this stage, the focus is on stability, building an emergency fund, getting rid of high-interest debt, and just getting to the point where money doesn't disappear as fast as it comes in. Between $50,000 and $100,000, something starts to change. With even modest investing, you can start seeing results from compounding. Your investments might generate a few $1,000s a year without you lifting a finger. That may not sound like much, but it's a huge psychological shift. For the first time, your money is earning money. You've moved from just relying on your paycheck to having a second, silent income source. The real turning point, though, happens around a net worth of $100,000 to $250,000. At this level, compounding starts to feel meaningful. A 7% annual return on $100,000 is $7,000 a year. That's the equivalent of getting a monthly check for nearly $600 without doing anything. At $250,000, that number jumps to around $7,500 per year. This is when many people realize wealth can scale faster than effort. You don't have to double your hours at work. You just have to let your assets grow. But the level where wealth really starts to feel automatic is around $500,000 to $1 million in net worth. Here's why. At $500,000 invested, a modest 7% return produces $35,000 a year. That's nearly the median individual income in the US. Your investments alone are replacing a paycheck. At $1 million, those returns grow to about $70,000 a year. That's not luxury money, but it's comfortable. And more importantly, it comes without having to trade your time. That's when wealth feels automatic. This is also where a shift in mindset happens. Instead of asking, how can I save more from my job? The question becomes, how can I protect and grow what I already have? You start realizing that wealth preservation is as important as wealth accumulation. The urgency to chase risky opportunities fades because you don't need a miracle to change your life. You just need to avoid mistakes and let time do its job. Of course, not everyone needs to hit 1 million before wealth feels automatic. It depends on your expenses and lifestyle. For someone who lives modestly and keeps expenses under control, $500,000 might be enough to feel financially untouchable. For someone with high expenses, even 1 million might not feel like much. The key factor is the gap between what your assets produce and what your lifestyle demands. The wider that gap, the freer you feel. That's why building wealth isn't just about income. It's about discipline. There are plenty of high earners with no real net worth because every dollar they make gets spent. They look wealthy on the outside but are financially fragile. Meanwhile, someone with average income but consistent savings can cross the threshold where wealth feels automatic decades earlier. Another way to think about this is financial momentum. Below $100,000, your wealth feels slow. Between $100,000 and $500,000, it speeds up. Past $500,000, it feels like it runs on its own. And once you cross $1 million, your net worth can grow faster than you can spend without taking big risks. That's when compounding fully takes over. Now, how do you actually reach that point? It comes down to 3 principles: earn, save, and invest consistently. On the earning side, you need enough income to create a gap between what you make and what you spend. That gap is your wealth engine. Without it, you can't build momentum. On the saving side, consistency is more important than perfection. Even if you can only put away 10 to 15% of your income, sticking to it year after year creates results. And on the investing side, the key is time in the market. The earlier you start, the less you need to contribute later. For example, someone who saves $500 a month starting at age 25 and invests in an index fund could cross 1 million by their early 60s. That's the power of starting early. The earlier you cross $100,000, the sooner wealth feels automatic. But even if you start late, the principle doesn't change. The moment you begin to consistently save and invest, You're buying yourself options. You might not reach $1 million quickly, but you can still reach the level where your money works for you instead of the other way around. It's also worth noting that not all net worth is equal. A house you live in adds stability, but it doesn't generate income. True financial momentum comes from assets that produce cash flow. Stocks, bonds, rental properties, or businesses. That's what makes wealth feel automatic. Income streams that show up whether you're working or not. So when people ask, what's the net worth level where wealth feels automatic? The practical answer is this: around $500,000 to $1 million, depending on your lifestyle and expenses. At that point, compounding is no longer a theory. It's a force. Your money can cover major parts of your life without you having to constantly grind for it. But here's the bigger lesson. Wealth doesn't become automatic because of the number alone. It becomes automatic because of the habits you built on the way there. By the time you reach $500,000 or $1 million, you've already mastered the discipline of saving, investing, and living below your means. Those habits, combined with time, are what make wealth feel unstoppable. And that's the point most people miss. They want the feeling of automatic wealth without the years of discipline it takes to get there. But the two are inseparable. You can't shortcut your way to automatic wealth, because the process of building it is what teaches you how to keep it. The bottom line is this: the net worth level where wealth feels automatic is within reach for more people than it seems. It's not about luck or winning the lottery. It's about patience, consistency, and avoiding the traps that drain your future. For some, that number might be $500,000. For others, it's $1 million. But the real milestone isn't the number itself. It's the point where your money grows faster than your effort. That's when you know you've crossed into a different stage of wealth building. And here's the encouraging part. Once you cross that stage, the decisions you make feel different. You're no longer asking, how do I survive this month? Or how do I cover my bills? Instead, the questions shift to, how do I preserve what I've built? And what's the smartest way to grow from here? That shift alone changes how you see money. It's no longer a source of constant pressure, and it becomes a tool that quietly supports the life you want to live. Think about how much lighter life feels when you know your investments can cover most of your basic expenses. Rent, groceries, or even healthcare costs don't feel as intimidating when you know your assets are producing income in the background. That's what people really mean when they say wealth feels automatic. It's not about buying everything you want without thinking. It's about knowing the essentials are covered, which gives you the freedom to make choices based on what you want, not just what you need. And here's something most people overlook. Reaching the point where wealth feels automatic doesn't mean you stop working. Many people continue working well past this stage. Not because they have to, but because they want to. The difference is work becomes optional. You get to choose projects that excite you, jobs that give you meaning, or even businesses you enjoy building. The stress of relying 100% on your paycheck disappears, and that choice, more than the number in your bank account, is what real wealth is about. It's also worth mentioning that this level of wealth doesn't happen by accident. It's not something you stumble into without intention. The people who get there are the ones who consistently avoided the traps that keep others stuck. Lifestyle creep, consumer debt, and the belief that a high income automatically equals security. They focused on building assets, not appearances. And by the time they crossed $500,000 or $1 million, the habits they built along the way ensured they could sustain and grow it.